Well, another day, another recall. And this one is actually a little weird. Well, actually, potential recall. Right now, it's just an investigation. We're also going to talk about plastics. The reason this is happening is because of plastics. The plastification of trucks. Let's dive in. Here's what's affected. Let's talk about the recall first. We have the 1500, 2500, 3500, 4500, 5500 Ram trucks equipped with the column shifter. It's 2013 to 2018. The BTSI locking pin becomes stuck, allowing the transmission to be shifted out of park without depressing the brake pedal and without having the key in ignition. You can actually shift the truck out of park and it can pop out of park and roll away. I suppose you have a lot of situations where you could be on a hill, but you would think that all of these other recalls where like the engine fails and you're at 80 miles an hour, those would cause more deaths. They actually don't. And the worst part about this investigation right now is that Ram had already recalled over 1 million trucks for this BTSI failure, potentially leading to vehicle rollaway. They actually supposedly fixed the trucks, but apparently some of those trucks actually still had the problem. So they claim there's only 20 incidents. Now, luckily no fatalities, but I'm trying to figure out, like, how is there only 20 incidents reported? You have over 1 million vehicles estimated. This was recalled in the past. The recall didn't fix the problem. Now it's happening again. How do you only have 20, but you've had like 7 injuries out of 20? That seems like a pretty high number. Seems like one of those things where we're only seeing reports in NHTSA when it's really bad, when there is an injury or something bad happened. And then the hundreds and hundreds of things that happen outside of this just aren't reported. So I went and looked at this old recall that they had supposedly fixed. And to bring in the plastification of everything, the description of the defect: depression of the brake pedal when the vehicle is in park and running energizes the brake transmission shift interlock, the BTSI. When the BTSI is energized for prolonged periods, the temperature rises, causing the BTSI housing plastic to swell and the grease to degrade, which causes the BTSI locking pin to stick in the open position. Then this is why the truck can then just roll away, because the park pin is stuck. Interesting though that the plastic housing swells. Now, had they used some sort of aluminum or an alloy or something, my guess is that there probably wouldn't be any swelling. And if there's nowhere for the grease to go or degrade, I mean, maybe it would still happen. Maybe it's better to solve this problem with voltage and with better control there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is it just another case of like plastics being everywhere and plastics failing? Look, plastics can't handle heat cycles. You see this in the valve covers. You see this in everything else where, you get 10 years down the road, 12 years down the road, you're going to start to see all these plastics degrade. Plastics, rubbers, all these things, they will degrade. They will not last, where, something like steel is going to definitely have better heat cycle resistance. The downside is rust. This actually brings up another point I made in a previous video. This is a Ram upper control arm in the suspension, and it is plastic around it. I misspoke in the last video. I was just reading the title that, hey, there's plastic control arms on suspension now. And while this is a plastic piece with a ball joint, it's like all integrated, there is steel underneath that plastic. Now, do I think that this is better than an all steel one that is maybe larger? No, I don't. Or an all aluminum or an alloy that's larger. I still think they're using some of the plastics here to reinforce what is probably less steel underneath. This is just how things are going to go. They're going to make things lighter, cheaper. And in a scenario like this, they don't want you replacing the ball joint. They just want you replacing the entire thing because it's cheap. So it's like $100 for the upper control arm. You get the integrated ball joint, and then you're probably going to get the bushings as well. So that's how everything's going. It's going to like replace more parts and not replacing like individual ball joints and things like that. Interesting. I've heard people tell me, well, no one replaces their ball joints anymore. Anyway, I do. And, on my Toyotas, they've got like over 200,000 miles on them with the original ball joints. So I'm not someone that worries about the bushings and things when they're designed right. The problem is everything's designed to fail so early that's where the costs are going to start to come in for most of these vehicles. So yeah, it's just another example of planned obsolescence and plastification of everything. Here's another example. Remember when they used to make valve covers out of, at least aluminum? Now, this is what you will frequently find. You're going to find this rubber gasket, and then you're going to find the plastic valve cover, and you're going to start to see, like right here, it's starting to warp on the edge. And really, this is just a throwaway part. You're going to take this big piece of plastic, and you're going to throw it away and buy a new one. I see it with transmission pans, right? ZF's 8-speed transmission. You got this big plastic pan with the integrated filter. You just pull the whole thing off, throw it away, get a new one. I guess that's better for the environment, right? Or how about one of my favorite ones? You guys probably remember this if you've been around this channel a long time. This is underneath the new Toyota Tacoma. See this little piece right here? That is like a felt, soft skid plate. That is supposed to protect right underneath your Tacoma. Even on like a TRD off-road, I don't believe they have the metal skid plates, which is, it's sad. They used to put these on. Heck, even my old 2008 Sequoia has this big steel skid plate underneath it, and it's just this family hauling big SUV. And now they don't do it because of weight and cost reduction. Or how about this one? This is a full-size truck TRD off-road package for the Tundra. Nice. It's probably ballistic plastic. That's probably what it is. If you call it ballistics, it makes it bulletproof. Look at that. The diff's even hanging down there, just ready to get dinged up. I guess, in fairness, most of these vehicles are just going to be mall crawlers anyway. So you guys have to let me know. I mean, are the manufacturers at fault for this? Or is it really just the behavior of, most people in America and maybe some other countries that drive these things just to go to the mall, just to commute? I mean, that's why we see the proliferation of massaging seats and all these creature comforts, as opposed to the more utilitarian functions that we used to see in these vehicles. And my final example, just to kind of send this home, there's like the use of rubbers when they could just use metal. This is like an old Lexus RX 350. I actually had one of these. I had to replace this. And they, instead of just making a manually bent, aluminum tube for the oil feed, they put this little rubber, almost like 90-degree bend in it. And what would happen is that rubber would eventually just spring a leak. Many people lost all their oil. Boom, engine's dead. I mean, your engine oil would be gone in like, 30 seconds. You'd be done throwing rods, basically. It's just, and many people did lose their engines with this. Now, the replacement part is super simple. And this is what the replacement part ended up looking like. You could actually get these from Toyota as an update to the part. They actually updated the part for like 80 or 90 bucks. I'm like, I would much rather have them just put this in from the factory and charge me an extra. I mean, if you take one part with some metal and rubber in it versus this part with all metal, there's probably like a $10 cost difference. If you do that throughout the vehicle, I would be totally fine knowing that if they took that approach on a vehicle to make it reliable, I'd be willing to pay a little extra if I knew I could keep the car for 10, 15 years without worrying about these kinds of failures. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.